So what is healing exactly? Like, healing is coming to wholeness, and this is completely different from wellness or any other power games. Like, power games would be gaining control of your body, looking a particular way, being seen publicly in a particular way, getting money, basically any type of success would be a power game. And then, so what is that versus like actual healing? And I would say they're intertwined, right? It would be hard to actually heal without success, but it doesn't necessarily equate to success, right? So healing is equivalent to like you are reestablishing your connection with the totality of your being, like the totality of your being. And the way that you're cut off with the totality of your being is similar to how an urban person is cut off from the totality of the ocean, the totality of mountains, the totality of the bigness of everything, right? Like, and that totality, when you encounter it, is scary, right? It's scary like big wave surfing. Like, it's scary like getting caught in a riptide and realizing that, like, no matter how well you can swim, it doesn't matter here. Like, that nature is bigger than you, right? And so being able to engage with that totality in a successful way requires courage, bravery, or what the totality of being in the jungle, right? The totality of being able to live in nature and expose yourself to predatory animals. The totality of being able to expose yourself to raw human psychology without somebody like pampering your ego or complimenting you or saying you're great or anything, of like just actually being able to survive in nature without any of the fluffing. Right, so that practice of getting back in touch with yourself, even if it's the depths of yourself, maybe it's not big wave surfing or free soloing, right, or swimming with sharks or encountering like lions or being in the nature, because nature can kill you. Nature is indifferent to you. Nature says it's going to heal you by killing you if you're weak, right? The overly protective mother says it's gonna, you're great, you're wonderful, you're so amazing, and it's like the loving father, which is really the loving mother. It's like a yin yang, where the yin is inside the yang. The feminine nature also has the masculine father that will kill you if you're weak, and you have to be exposed to that to be healed. Right? You have to be like, okay, yeah, you want to remerge with the ocean. Well, there's big waves in the ocean, so you have to remerge with that, and it's horrifying. It's like an extreme sport is horrifying for an old person or an out of shape person. It'll kill you. Backcountry living, surviving in the wilderness, hunting, like actual fight, war, combat, all these things where you're like in full grips of reality, that's healing. And so anybody offering that to you is a dangerous person themselves. Like their psychology is dangerous to you. They want to put you down. They want to destroy you. They want to take advantage of everything in you that is weak. Right? So when people expose themselves to like a psychopath, that's like being exposed to raw human psychology. Like a lion, a predatory creature. Something that doesn't care if you die or not. Like you have to be weak to survive, right? So it's like a wave. Like a big wave or a cliff face. Like Alex Honnold or whatever. Gravity doesn't personally care about him. The bigness and the vastness of the mountain does not care about the climber. But the climber has to unite with that vastness in order to be healed. The enormous 60-foot wave does not care about the surfer. The surfer has to be united with that wave to heal. And so inside of everybody is something equally scary and terrifying as like a giant wave or a predatory animal or the jungle or any of these giant big things, and it's God. It's God himself is in the core of everybody's being, and uniting with that is as horrifying as facing a predator, as facing nature, as facing a wave. And if you don't actually expose yourself to it, there's not actually any risk. So like the actual healing, I don't even know how it's marketable, because it's you wouldn't be able to sell it any more than you could sell big wave surfing. It takes somebody who's there of their own will. Right, so that's why they buy. That's why they pay a guru. That's why they pay somebody who's good. That's why they pay somebody who's connected. They don't pay somebody who's there to help them. Right, when somebody's wanting to heal, when somebody's wanting to connect to their extreme parts, like a big wave, or like God inside of them, this giant mountain, the world tree, the thing that's like, it's terrifying. It's the same way that it's like somebody wants to fight a professional fighter or go to war. You don't want a drill sergeant that's there to make you feel good about yourself. You want somebody that's there to remove your weakness. And the only thing that's going to remove your weakness to the degree that you need your weaknesses removed to reunite with nature is something, an unchecked and uncivilized force. So that's if you look at any guru that's successful in making people more whole, it's an unchecked, uncivilized psychology. It's a dangerous human mind that has like no respect for weakness. It has love. It's not a psychopath, but people mistake it for being psychopathic because it doesn't coddle at all. It's like the infinite loving mind does not coddle, just like the infinite loving mind has compassion for everything and everyone. It also does not coddle at all. It abhors all weakness because the weakness is what disconnects it from nature. So healing is just an extreme sport. Healing, like, if it doesn't seem like an extreme sport, like, oh my effing God, like, if to actually change some part of yourself or to connect with a deeper part of yourself, it's terrifying to touch it. It's terrifying to face it, or it should be. It should give you an adrenaline spike or fear, or like run, like you want to run away. The same way that you would want to run away from this big wave where if you screw up, you could die. Or this cliff face where you screw up, you could die. Or in war, if you screw up, you could die. Like, healing is that. Like, if you screw it up, you could die. And in some sense, like, maybe you have to. Like, maybe you're too weak. Maybe you're too weak and you need the mercy of death. But all of that's extreme, right? Like, let's say that your psychology or worldview is just absolutely 100% based off of lies and weakness and death. And if you want to heal from that, your healer is going to show like everything that's about you that is wrong and insufficient and everything that cannot stand a connection to reality. That's that stripping away process. I think that's a better description of repentance than feeling sorry. It's like a removal of weakness is repentance. A removal of the weakness that goes, this is why I can't be here in nature, in touch with God. This is why I cannot be in touch with the immensity of myself. This is why I cannot stand silence. And that weakness is just big. That's a big endeavor. And so I wouldn't mistake that for wellness or any of the other bullshit out there, even though it's related. Like, if you become a badass, if you become able to connect with the magnitude of God inside of you, if you're able to connect with the immensity of waves, or like the depth of the ocean, right? Can you stand the depth of the ocean 50 meters? Like, I start to get, like, my fear of heights and stuff kicks in over 20 feet down. Can you go down 50 meters? Can you stand that fear of suffocation, of death? Because that's reality. Like, that's how deep your consciousness goes. And so everyone is like kind of civilized, cut off the same way that urban centers are cut off from consciousness, and just actually reuniting with God, or actually becoming whole, of putting the weak parts in contact with the extreme parts, is usually going to result in the death of anybody who has been cut off and atrophied, like become weak from disconnection from God. So you just have to look at, that's what's going on. When somebody goes, I'm trying to heal, you have to look at, they're exposing themselves to danger. They're exposing themselves to everything that civilization has blocked itself off from, is what a person exposes themselves to when they're healing. So it's almost like that stuff has to be done in secret. It's like extreme sports and stuff is an insider's club where everyone does it together who's into the same thing. But it's extreme. Ethically questionable. Like, is it, you know? And then you don't need the extremeness, right? You just have to know that the extremeness exists. You can't be separate from the extremeness. You don't have to chase it. Like, you can be in the city, you can be in a calm area, and you can become whole. But that act of being whole in that calm area in the city is as extreme of an act as freediving, extreme as an act as free solo, extreme of an act as big wave surfing. Like mysticism, the mundane, actually dying into the mundane, actually dying is that big of a deal. Of wanting to expose yourself and connect yourself to even the most psychopathically honest of psychologies, right? Like the voice inside of yourself that everyone says is critical, the negative voice inside of yourself, that voice is the truth. And once you're able to stand the truth, that voice no longer becomes negative, and it is actually beneficial. It's a guide. It's the conscience, right? That negative voice that kills you, that people think that they want to be healed of, that they try and correct with affirmations, that they try and talk over, that they try and drown out, that they try and get rid of, like that's the voice of truth. And it transforms from the voice of the deceiver, of the evil one, the one that causes despair, into the voice of truth based off of are you weak, are you too weak to take it? Are you unhealed? Are you not whole? Do you not contain the truth? If you don't contain the truth, then the truth becomes the voice of the destroyer. The truth becomes the voice of the devil. And I know all this from experience. I have experienced it, and that's why I'm afraid of all of these extreme sports that I talk about. So I train mostly in a tiny little bathtub where it's safe.